I'm going to go ahead with the meeting beginning ritual.
起立，面向佛堂，参加三鞠躬、一鞠躬、再鞠躬、三鞠躬，参加各位点传世一鞠躬，开班一鞠躬，请坐下。Please be seated.
So just a recap on 12. Previously, we divided up Ching chapter 12 into 3 sections, as you can see here. So what we did was that we started out talking about the 5 colors, the 5 sounds, and the 5 flavors. And what we spoke of in a couple of sessions now is that the 5 colors, 5 sounds, and 5 flavors are not to be taken literally. They are a way to express the many, many things that we encounter in the material world. Much like 10,000 things, 10,000 living things, or 10,000 living creatures are not a literal 10,000, but just means myriad or many. So 5 colors, 5 sounds, 5 flavors represent all the different temptations, distractions, seductions that we come across in the material world. So that's the world in which we live. Then in the second section, it speaks of racing, hunting, and then acquiring goods. So these are all about the various activities that we engage in as we live in the material world. Racing, what I talked about before was that think of this as the rat race of social competition. Hunting, going after things, going after material goods, fame and fortune, etc. And specifically the chase for material goods cause damage. So section 1 is the setting. Section 2 is all about the activities. And then conclusion, section 3 is about how the sages care for the stomach and not the eyes, meaning the sages care for the basic needs, you know, the simple life, living the simple life, or just the bare necessities. And not the eyes. The eyes represent all the things that the eyes can see that cause desires in the heart. So discard the other, meaning those desires inspired by what the eyes can see, and take this, that is, caring for the stomach, the basic needs, the simple life. So that's what we covered previously. We also did the recap slide, which I'll present again, just so we kind of set ourselves up for the story that I would like to tell as the first thing today. 5 colors, 5 sounds, and 5 flavors refer to all the bewildering temptations of the material world. Racing and hunting refer to all the frantic rush, friction, and even conflicts arising from our activities in the material world. So in the face of all of this, we should mind the basics, what the stomach needs, rather than the temptations, what the eyes see. Last item from the recap, we have to be ready and willing to discard all the colors, sounds, and flavors in order to hold on to the one thing that matters, the Tao. Now, the reason why I need to couple this with a story that I want to share with everybody is because the last paragraph that you see here is something that we can easily talk about, but may find much more difficult to do. So my personal experience is that it becomes much easier when we are able to illustrate this last paragraph of the story And the story is not going to necessarily, talk about 5 colors, sounds, and flavors, but it's going to talk about the temptations, fame and fortune, our activities, and then it'll talk about discarding those temptations and distractions to hold on to the one thing that matters, the Tao. Now, even the 2 last words here, the Tao, that can be kind of abstract. What do I mean by that? Well, as I mentioned, it could be the simple life. It could be the simple pleasures that we encounter. So the story is called The Blacksmith's Teapot. So this slide is titled The Teapot. So I would like to ask everyone to visualize a particular teapot, not exactly like what you see here in the picture, a teapot that's similar to this picture, but that's got dirt on it. It's got black, stains here and there. It's something that's being used over and over again. So it hasn't really been cleaned up to look nice and presentable like you see here. But it's an important central item in the story that I would like to tell. So to remind everyone, this story specifically references chapter 12 of the Tao Te Ching, what we're discussing now in the last parts of our discussion. Just to remind everyone, chapter 12 of the Tao Te Ching says, goods that are difficult to acquire make one cause damage. Therefore, the sages care for the stomach and not the eyes. That is why they discard the other and take this. And here's the story. Once upon a time, in ancient China, there was a blacksmith who worked out of a small storefront in an alley. Every day, he would ply his trade by his furnace, working up a sweat. When it was time to take a break, he would go to the front of his store where he had a chair and a small table set up. It was his favorite thing to sit there, drink water straight from a teapot, and feel the breeze cooling him down. He would lean back in his chair and sigh deeply. Everything was as it should be. Life was good. One day, he was taking his break, as usual, when he noticed a man staring at him. This man appeared to be a traveler, possibly passing through the alley on his way somewhere else. The blacksmith called out, "Sir, may I be of service?" The traveler approached. "Pardon me," he said. "I cannot help but notice your teapot." "This old teapot?" The blacksmith was dismissive. "It's just something that my father used to drink from when he worked out of the store as the town blacksmith. He passed it down to me when I took over the store, so now I also drink from it when I am sweaty and thirsty." The traveler asked for a closer look. The blacksmith found this rather strange, but couldn't see the harm, so he handed it over. "Suit yourself," he said. "Look all you want." The traveler took quite a while with the teapot. He held it up, turned it over, and handled it with extreme care. Finally, he gave it back to the blacksmith. "Sir, this is an extremely rare antique from the previous dynasty. I do not think you know how valuable it is. The blacksmith's neighbors, sensing there was something happening, gathered around to see what was going on. One of the neighbors said, "Sir, you must be joking. It does not look valuable at all." The traveler smiled. "I assure you, it looks quite different when it is properly cleaned up." He said, "Only 3 like it were ever made, and 2 of them are in the imperial palace. The 3rd one was thought to be lost, but look at the engraved mark at the bottom of this teapot. This is it." Now that the mark was pointed out, everyone could see that it was indeed an intricate design that no one had ever seen anywhere else. The traveler turned to the blacksmith and said, "Sir, I am prepared to make an offer for this teapot. What do you say to 1,000 gold coins?" The blacksmith could not believe what he was hearing. It was a staggering amount. None of them in that alley could expect to make that much in a lifetime. In a daze, he found himself agreeing to the deal. "Excellent." The travelers clasped hands with the blacksmith and said, "I shall return in a few days with the gold." Excitement rippled through the crowd. After the traveler departed, the neighbors surged forward to see the teapot. The blacksmith regained his senses in time to cradle it protectively. "Stay back, everyone," he held out a hand. "You all heard the man. This is extremely valuable. Keep your distance. Look at it from where you are." Life changed for the blacksmith while he waited for the traveler to return. Leaving the teapot outside was now out of the question, so he moved his chair and table inside. Drinking straight from the teapot didn't seem right, so he poured water into a cup while keeping a watchful eye on the teapot. He took his break inside so he could no longer enjoy the cooling breeze outside. The traveler did not return. But this did not dampen people's enthusiasm and curiosity. His neighbors told their neighbors, and pretty soon it seemed as if the entire alley was coming in to see the teapot. "Please, tell us about the traveler," people would say. "How much was the offer again?" they would ask repeatedly. This went on for several months. One morning, the blacksmith opened up his shop to find that there was already a large crowd waiting outside. Apparently, people had told their friends and relatives outside the alley too. "Please, show us a teapot," they implored. "What a lucky fellow you are," they exclaimed. The blacksmith could not take it anymore. "I know you all think I'm lucky," he said to the crowd. "But the truth is that the teapot has ruined my life." The crowd went quiet. No one expected such strong words from the blacksmith. "I used to think I was the happiest man in the world," the blacksmith continued. "I made a decent living and lived without worries. Things are different now. I've had nothing but misery. I have not been able to sleep well the last few months because I am always worrying that I may find the teapot stolen when I wake up. I have not been able to sit outside my shop at all. And I go through the entire day without being able to relax, even for a moment. Every day, I get the same questions over and over again, but very little work, because you are not here to do business with me. The only thing you want to see is the teapot. One of his neighbors tried to be helpful. The traveler will return. You'll be rich, and everything will be great. The blacksmith shook his head. It's been much longer than the few days he promised. I do not think he will return. Even if he does, I am no longer interested in the gold coins. All I want is to have my old life back. And now, I think I finally know how to make that happen. He put the teapot on his anvil. Before anyone could stop him, he swung his hammer down with precision and power. The teapot was instantly destroyed into countless fragments. The crowd was horrified, but the blacksmith felt nothing but blessed relief. No more teapot, no more worries. Finally. So that was the story of the blacksmith's teapot. Before I continue, let me request some feedback from everybody. That particular story is not in one of my books, so I thought this would be a more of a special presentation. So what I would like to do is to talk a little bit about the story and how it relates to the chapter that we're currently studying, 道德经 12. So the blacksmith lived a simple life before he met the traveler. He took joy in simple activities like taking breaks, drinking water, watching people, and feeling the breeze. They might not seem like much, but they gave him a profound sense of contentment. Life was good for the blacksmith, and he knew it. So think about it. We all have such activities in our lives. For one person, it may be leafing through a favorite magazine. For another, it may be a leisurely stroll in the park. Your personal favorites are uniquely your own. There is power in the simplicity of such pleasures. They are natural and they provide a low-key but lasting happiness. They are the pure essence of the Tao. Now, they can be easily taken for granted. We do not think about them much because these simple pleasures are always there, always within reach. We think more about things that are out of reach, such as getting out of our daily grind, like the strenuous and sweaty work of the blacksmith. Wouldn't it be great if we end up with fortune and fame so we can skip all the hassle and hardship of having to work? Wouldn't that be great? In the story, the fortune is the traveler's offer of 1,000 gold coins, and fame is the attention the blacksmith got when news of the offer spread. They fell into the blacksmith's lap without him having to pursue them. This made people all the more envious. The blacksmith discovered things were not quite as wonderful as people imagined. What he had was not real wealth, but the promise of wealth that never materialized. His fame was equally illusory because it was due to people's interest in the teapot, not in him. These illusions had a devastating effect on his life. He could, as he said, no longer relax. He could no longer live in a carefree way that he had before. Indeed, the happiness he enjoyed before became tainted and twisted. This describes a pattern we often see. People who become celebrities lose the ability to live a relaxed and carefree life. The simple pleasures they used to enjoy are gone. They are constantly surrounded by people who are not so much interested in them as human beings, but in the things that make them famous. This pushed the blacksmith to the edge. He could no longer sleep well. A good night's rest, like all the simple pleasures of life, was decimated by what people thought of as good fortune. His privacy was gone. People came at him with the same questions and requests over and over again. Finally, he snapped. Couldn't take anymore. He needed to get back to the basics and reject the illusions of fame. This is exactly as we have just talked about in chapter 12 of the Tao Te Ching as minding the stomach and not the eyes. He followed what the sages would do in a similar situation, giving up his attachment to possible wealth in order to take back the simple life he had previously. His decision to smash the teapot shocked people. I remember when I heard this story many, many years ago as a much younger man, at the end of the story, I probably was thinking the same thoughts that many people were thinking. Why destroy the teapot? Keep it. So it shocked me, someone who listened to the story, as the people in the story, because it was a drastic solution that the blacksmith's neighbors could not imagine for themselves. So what is the point? The point is that even when people understand intellectually that attachments are bad for them, they still cannot let go. This is why spiritual liberation is such a great challenge. It requires inner strength, courage, and determination to release the grasping hand. So it is much easier said than done. Now, it is time to consider how this lesson applies to you. Is there something in your life that is keeping you from the happiness you deserve? Does it have something to do with the pursuit of fame and fortune, or the attraction of wealth and celebrity status? If so, then whatever that is, that thing is your personal teapot. Just as the blacksmith's carefree life is worth far more than 1,000 gold coins, your spiritual freedom is much more valuable than any material benefits the teapot can bring. Wield the hammer in your mind and see the teapot smashed into countless fragments. This is how you disintegrate the attachment that blocks the path between you and the blessed relief of the Tao. So there you go, everybody. That's the story of the teapot. I think it is a fitting story to illustrate Dao De Jing chapter 12. And of course, I hope that you agree. Now, it is time for us to do the paraphrase. So our purpose with the paraphrase is once again to demonstrate complete understanding by expressing the original in our own words. When we do a paraphrase, we don't need to be exact, like a translation has to be exact. We don't need to be verbatim, word for word. However, it is very important that we capture the essence of the original. We have to be true not to the exact words, but the exact meaning, the spirit of the original text. And here's the original. So, section 1, in metaphorical language, talks about the 5 colors, the 5 sounds, the 5 flavors. So, the paraphrase that we present has to capture the meaning, the essence of the first section, which is that the 5 colors, 5 sounds, and 5 flavors represent all the different things that we find so distracting in the material world. So here's the paraphrase that I would like to offer. The material world offers many temptations and distractions. They are colorful and they can confuse us and blind us. There are also many sounds, flatteries, arguments, lies, and so on. They are loud and they can quickly overwhelm us. Last but not the least, there are sensory stimulations for every taste. They excite us initially, but leave us numb eventually. So beyond the first section, we get to the part where we speak of racing and hunting, making one wild in the heart, and also the pursuit of goods that are difficult to acquire. So, as I mentioned, these 2 lines talk about the activities in the material world. So here's the paraphrase that I would like to offer. In this world, many rush around as if they are in a race. They pursue fame and fortune as if they are in a hunt. They become crazed, failing to realize that their lust for material things will only result in negative consequences. And now the conclusion. In the conclusion, we want to talk about sticking to the basics, living the simple life, discarding the complexity of distractions, and embrace the simplicity of the Tao. So here's what I would like to offer. Observing all this, the sages conclude that one should focus on the simple basics of life rather than the many desires of the material world. They discard all the noise, all the words, all the rush, so they can embrace the Tao.
Let's go ahead and do the meeting ending ritual, everybody. 起立，面向佛堂，持架深鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，3鞠躬，持架各位顶传11鞠躬，斜翻1鞠躬。Well done, everybody. Thank you so much.